What's up, guys, and welcome to this edition of The Sharp Reality. I'm your man, Donovan Sharp. Follow me on Twitter at Donovan_Sharp. Visit my website, thesharpreality.com, to listen to all episodes of TSR, which are also available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Go to the Contact tab if you have questions, comments, hate mail, show ideas, or personal stories you'd like to share. And if you want to support the show, bookmark the Amazon link in the sidebar of my homepage and do all your Amazon shopping through that link, and you'll help keep us on the air at zero cost to you. In episode 22, I discussed a few things about super hot girls that I had learned that seemed to be universal across the board based on my experiences with them. So today, I'm going to add a supplement to that podcast episode and talk about some of the downsides of fucking the 9s and 10s of the world. Now, let's not kid ourselves, guys. No one's going to tell any man to stay away from hot chicks. And I'm sure as shit not going to tell you that you should stop pursuing him or anything like that. But it is important to understand that these females come with a different set of circumstances, both good and bad. And if you're not aware of what they are and how to deal with them, you'll get swallowed up and spit out in a hurry, which is exactly what happened to me the first few times I kind of tangled with these broads. So what I'll do is I'll talk about these downsides. Some of these can be deal breakers, some not so much, depending on your game and personality. You'll have to decide one way or another, but it helps to know this stuff going in so you're not completely in the dark about their not so great personality traits. So let's get to it. Number one, they get hit on all the time. Listen, super hot girls get hit on constantly. And even men with terrible game. If the girl is hot enough, his masculine hard drive doesn't give him any choice but to at least talk to her. She'll get hit on in public. Of course, she'll get hit on her phone if she has some dating app. Sometimes dudes will even hit on your girl in front of you or behind your back or while you're not there. The way to combat them getting hit on all the time, you have to have airtight frame. You cannot show that it bothers you. You can't mate guard. You can be territorial, but you can't be jealous or insecure. And super hot girls are extremely adept at recognizing the difference between one or the other. Another tip that I would give you is to avoid places where there could be trouble. If you're dating a 9 or a 10, don't take her to a club. Don't take her to a bar because trust me, there's going to be constant dick thrown in her direction at every turn. And listen, you might be fucking a 9 or a 10 who is absolutely faithful to you, but they're women and they're human. And if they get all sorts of cock thrown at them, she'll find your replacement sooner or later. Most of the time, this is unavoidable because they're super hot girls, but that doesn't mean you have to take her to the place like a club or a bar where that could accelerate. That just doesn't make any sense. Number two, there is zero error. There is zero margin for error in your game. Just like your frame, your game has to be airtight. I mentioned a girl I dated at the beginning of episode 13, a hot Mexican girl with big tits, an unbelievable body, who was a waitress at the time I ran game on her. Well, anyway, we'd been dating for a while, and one afternoon we were out shopping, and this was right around Thanksgiving, and this chick walks right by us, and I turned around and looked at her ass when she passed. No, I didn't turn around and look at her ass, but it was clear that I was looking at her ass as she passed by. Well, the girl I was with freaked out, and she said, and we're out in public, she says, Did you just look at her with me standing right here? And I said, I kind of just shrugged my shoulders. I said, yeah, what's the big deal? And so she gets all stupid. She's like, you disrespectful asshole. So I say to her, calm down. You're being a drama queen. So then she says, okay, you look at some random girl in front of me, and instead of apologizing, you call me a fucking drama queen? At that point, I didn't want it to escalate. I'd had enough. So I said, grab your shit. We're leaving. And then I added, and you're making stir fry tonight, because I knew what would happen. Well, predictably, she laughed and sarcastically and said, wait, you expect me to cook for you after this? Fuck you, I'm not making you shit. I said, fine, I'm taking you home. She said, good. She had to have the last word. I didn't say a word to her the entire ride to her place, but the whole time she bitched and moaned. She called me names. She told me I wasn't shit. She told me I can't do this anymore. Well, I dropped her off and I went home and proceeded to make my stir fry. Now, to her credit, she held out a little longer than I thought, but Okay. She eventually called me, came over that night, apologized for being a drama queen, and turned on the slut antics as usual. And of course, I fucked her brains out. The moral of the story here, guys, is I held Frame at all costs, including her possible departure. And she ended up apologizing for a situation I created with what may or may not have been disrespectful behavior I inflicted on her. That's the power of next level game. Even if she had decided to never talk to me again after that fiasco, which was a real possibility, because this wasn't the first time it happened. Like this was just a habit that I had. I would not have called and apologized. Now, look, if I'm being honest, I'll admit, yeah, it would have sucked to have lost the guaranteed pussy, because this girl was hot. Okay, I mean, even to this day, she's a hard 10. But the loss of that pussy pales in comparison if I had lost her respect, which would have ultimately resulted in me losing her anyway. You must have tight game at all times. There is no margin for error when you are dating or fucking 9s and 10s. Number 3. Your friends will hit on her, which is a little different from number 1. Like, people are going to hit on your girl, but if you bring your hot girlfriend around your friends, again, it's almost like it's involuntary. And men might say to me or say to themselves, well, if they're your real friends, they wouldn't hit on your girl. Look, man, like, I'm a horny motherfucker, and I'm not saying that I would ever hit on my friend's girlfriend if she were a 9 or 10. But I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't at least consider trying to spit a little game at her. And the reason for that is not because I'm a bad guy or a bad friend. It's because I'm a man. If I see a 9 or a 10, I'm going to holler. What you need to do in this particular situation, don't bring her around your friends. Guys, don't do it. It's not worth it. This idea that your girlfriend getting along with your friends is important it's an absolute sham. It's overrated and unnecessary. Keep your girl and your friends separate, period. Number 4. Super hot girls often work in the sex trade. A lot of them are strippers, escorts, showgirls, etc. Now, what to do if you find out your girlfriend works in a particular sex trade? It really depends on their trade. If they're strippers or showgirls, then let's not kid ourselves here. We're talking about prostitution at the end of the day. We all know that strippers and girlfriends will sell their pussy on the side. They advertise themselves on stage, and then, they get with the dude at the bottom, and hey, how much for a night or whatever. That's just how it works sometimes. But if they're strippers or showgirls, they're a little less likely to be selling their pussies on the side than if they were actual call girls or escorts. Either way, if you find out your girl uses her body to make money, you need to keep her at arm's length and never get too serious with them. At that point, you just have to realize that if you're fucking her, it's just your turn at that point, and eventually she's going to move on to someone else. Number 5, they do a lot of drugs. Going back to the sex trade, a lot of strippers, escorts, and showgirls, selling your body in any way, shape, or form, it fucks with your mind as a woman, because they know that with each guy they fuck, each time they take their clothes off for a stranger, each lap dance they do, it mind fucks them, because they know that this really isn't what they should be doing. As a result, they tend to do a lot of drugs, cocaine, heroin, weed, just to deal with their lifestyle. What to do in this situation? Don't try to fucking be a Captain Save-O. Oh, you need to get off drugs. But no. Look, let her do her drugs and continue fucking her as long as she's a 9 or a 10. The most important thing is don't get caught up with her and start doing drugs with her. She's with you because you hold frame and you're not sucked into her world. If you start dating a stripper who does drugs, and you start doing drugs along with her, she's going to lose attraction for you because you didn't hold frame and stay in your world. You allowed yourself to be sucked into her world. Women do not respect men who get sucked into their world or their lifestyle. What that means to women is that his lifestyle wasn't sustainable and he's not a strong man, and that this is why he got sucked into my world. And not to mention that if you develop a nickel a day coke habit, that's never good either. Number 6. 9s and 10s are not too smart. Now, this isn't to say that they don't have the potential to learn certain things. There is a difference between being smart and being intelligent. Someone who is Just because you have a college degree doesn't mean that you're intelligent, and just because you don't have one doesn't mean that you're not. But the reason 9s and 10s usually don't know too much is because they don't have to be, especially when they were born pretty. I see 4s, 5s, and 6s getting treated like princesses. And so if you have super hot girls out in the world, they literally get waited on hand and foot by every male and sometimes female that they come across. Well, if they're pretty from a young age, they don't really have to develop a keen sense of street smarts. They don't have to really develop themselves outside of the way they look, because the way they look literally guides them through life. It's the reason they get the golden ticket. Hot girls get into clubs without paying. Hot girls get free drinks at bars. Hot girls can get whatever they want. They can go onto a car lot, and even if she has shitty credit, they're still going to finance her because she's a hot girl. Hot girls skate through life because they're hot, and as a result, they don't really have to develop their brains. Number 7, the sex is lackluster. Now, not to say that sex is bad with 9s or 10s, with 9s and 10s. I touched on this in episode 22, but it needs to be reiterated because men think that once they get a 10 back to their place, they think it's going to be mind-blowing sex. Well, think again. And listen, don't get me wrong. Sometimes sex with 9s and 10s is great. But more often than not, it's not as good as one might think. Like 9s and 10s, they're not porn stars. She's not gonna deep throat your cock like she does in porn movies. She's not doing any of that stuff. Just because a hot girl agreed to be in the room naked with you and agreed to fuck you doesn't mean she is gonna fuck you like that porn star. The reason for this is because 9s and 10s rarely are required to exert much effort to elicit a positive response from men. If a man who's never fucked a 10, even if a man sticks his dick in a 10, if he's never fucked a 10 before, he's going to be satisfied because he's fucking a 9 or a 10. So if you're expecting a 9 or a 10 to fuck you like a porn star, think again. Remember, they're 9s and 10s, so they're not really required to exert much effort in or out of the bedroom. Number 8, they are fucking bitches. Now, if your game and frame are tight, they're not going to be bitchy to you. Now, they'll test you. They'll try to be a bitch, but you got to fucking check them. And if a 9 or a 10 knows that you're not to be trifled with, she'll gain attraction and respect for you. But outside of you or other guys she's fucking, they are bitches to everybody. Why? Because they can be. I have never seen, other than a prostitute who's a 9 or a 10, I have never seen a man check 9 or a 10 in public. I've never seen anybody call out super attractive women in public. I've never seen it. So if you're dating or fucking a 9 or a 10, if you go to public places with her, just understand that when she interacts with other people, she's probably going to be a bitch because she's gotten away with it her entire life, her entire adult life. Number 9, 9s and 10s are extremely delusional. And again, it's because they can be. Now, the smart 9s and 10s, they stay hot because they know that the world is different to unattractive women. But 9s and 10s who take their looks for granted, they think that life is always going to be great. They think that men are always going to fawn over them. They think they're always going to get the benefit of the doubt in any and all situations. They think that they're going to get favorable treatment from everyone in their lives until the day they die. But what they don't know is that when they hit the wall, that all changes. So if you're ever with a 9 or a 10, like poke fun at her, just say, hey, look, like, where do you see yourself at 34 or 35? And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, you know what? I haven't really given it much thought. Number 10, they are useless. The average girl can't cook, she can't clean, she can't do laundry. They don't have much domestic agency. 9s and 10s are even worse. And once again, they're useless because they don't have to be useful. As I stated earlier, 9s and 10s get everything handed to them. They're not required to do anything except show up, and the world and everything just kind of falls into place. So if you're dating a 9 or a 10 and you expect her to be able to cook and you expect her to be great with money, you're as delusional as the 9s or 10s. You got to understand that 9s and 10s have life easy. And when they have life easy, they don't develop themselves outside of their looks. Yes, they're gym rats, and I mentioned before about the big titted Mexican girl. She wasn't too bright, but one thing she knew was diet, nutrition, and fitness. And that's no accident. That's no coincidence, because she knows that her looks are her meal ticket, so she continues to cultivate that to be able to exploit that for as long as she can. She happened to be one of the smarter ones, I guess. Number 11, they are always trying to qualify themselves to you outside of their looks. Now, a 10 will never ask a man that she's fucking or dating, how does this look on me? Okay? Because she knows that whatever she's wearing is going to look damn good on them. It's good that they know this already. But when it comes to other things, like, I don't know, talking about current events or the way the world works, it gets so annoying because it's so obvious they have no idea what they're talking about. Now, to their credit, if you're dating a 9 or a 10 and she attempts to have a conversation, a meaningful conversation with you, it might get annoying, but give her some credit. At least she's trying to connect with you on some level. But understand that because they're not too bright and they know they're not too bright, they're always going to try to qualify themselves to you. If you guys pass by something, she'll try to tell you the history on something that she found on the internet and try to sort of show you that she's good, that she's good for other things, outside of the 3 holes you penetrate on the regular. Number 12, they are way too picky. And 9s and 10s get whatever they want whenever they want. They are picky about what they eat, where they go. They always fly first class. We've talked about the Dubai girls, the tag the sponsor. These hot girls who answer these tag the sponsor ads for rich men to pay them money to fly to Dubai to allow them to shit on them, insert foreign objects into their holes and this and that and the other. 10s always stay at the best hotels. They always eat at the best restaurants. They always have the best of everything. And because of this, they are extremely, extremely picky. So your game may be tight, and she may love it when you fuck her. But if you take her out to a restaurant, you need to understand that she is going to be extremely selective about what she eats. A lot of 9s and 10s, and I've experienced this firsthand. Anytime you go to a sit-down restaurant, she always asks somebody about what's not on the menu. It's the most annoying fucking thing in the world. It's like I want to reach over and fucking shake the shit out of her and say, for once in your life, order something on the fucking menu. No, 9s and 10s are always interested in the soup of the day, or what other specials do you have, or is there anything off the menu that you recommend, or can I get this? Can I get the soup without the soup, or can I get? It's always something. They are extremely, extremely picky, so you need to be prepared for that. Finally, number 13, they complain too much. Along with their bitchiness and their selectiveness, yes, they do always get what they want, but if they don't get exactly what they want and exactly when they want it, they get bitchy and they complain. My soup's too cold, or my salad's too hot, or I can't believe we've been waiting on our meal for 5 minutes, or if you're stupid enough to take her to the club and they're not letting people in, oh my God, I can't believe we're still standing out here. We should have gotten in by now because she's used to getting in. Understand that when you are with a 9 or a 10, they're going to complain about everything. Yes, this gets on your nerves. Yes, it's going to drive you fucking crazy, but you have to be prepared for these things. Like I said at the beginning, no one is discouraging men to not run game or date or fuck 9s and 10s. Listen, as many disadvantages, there are more disadvantages to fucking 9s and 10s than there are advantages, but the advantages are glorious. I mean, you've got you walk around town with a hot chick, that automatically increases your value as a male. Any female who sees you with a hot female, especially hot females, guess what? That's pre-qualification. I remember I hit a stretch in Vegas where I think for maybe 4 or 5 months, I'm probably exaggerating, I mean, maybe like a month and a half or 2 months straight, like I was fucking nothing but 9s and 10s, because 9s and 10s have friends who have other friends who are 9s and 10s. And then, of course, 9s and 10s see you walking around with 9s or 10s, you're pre-qualified, so it makes it easier to run game on them. But what you need to understand that along with the advantages, there are disadvantages aplenty. Again, I'm not suggesting that it's not worth it to run game on them. I love fucking 9s and 10s. I like the spike in SMV that I get when I'm seeing with them. But it's always good to know some of the disadvantages that come with dating super hot chicks, because again, a lot of men tend to think that, oh my God, if I can just lock down just 110, if I can fuck 110, life is going to be glorious. No. You still have to have airtight game. The game never ends. And once you fuck her, that's just the beginning. So long as you understand what some of the pitfalls are, what some of the disadvantages are, at that point, you can start to learn how to mitigate some of their built-in disadvantages when you finally do start to fuck one of them. Okay, so let's get to Q&A. Commenter Vinay Porteous. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It says Vinay Porteous, who I'm assuming is a woman, writes in regarding episode 15, Does Size Matter? She says, quote, knowing how to please a woman is more important than size. Well, Vinay Porteous, you might be right, but I wouldn't know, because I stopped giving a shit about what women want during sex a long time ago. And I would refer you to episode 17, why you should ignore a woman's needs in bed. Otis Jones writes in about episode 32, 5 half-truths women regularly tell their significant others. He says, I want to thank you for all you do, man. I'm having an awakening this past year and can't believe how foolish and ignorant I was about the true nature of women. Yeah, thanks, Otis, man. I really appreciate that. I've been where you are, man, and I've made some pretty embarrassing mistakes with women. Episodes 4, 10, and 21 are my personal stories about how foolish I was with women. One was my girlfriend, one was my wife, and the other was a woman I put on my Captain Save-A-Ho cape for. As embarrassing as those situations were, I wouldn't be where I am today without those experiences. So maybe those episodes, and again, episodes 4, 10, and 21, maybe those episodes will give you a little more perspective, or a little more perspective in terms of what all men go through in their lives at some point or another. And hopefully that'll help with your awakening. Thanks for listening, man. We really do appreciate your supports. My man, Black Gnostic Speaks, writes in about the same episode. He says the biggest pushback you get from men and women is talking about female infidelity. He says women don't want it revealed and men don't want to believe it. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. The world would have you believe that men cheat more than women, but anyone here knows that that's about as true as a girl who smokes telling you she's a virgin. And he's right. Women don't want the truth out there, and men stick their heads in the sand. And listen, as a side note, you guys definitely need to subscribe to Black Gnostic Speaks YouTube channel. He and I, we've done some podcasts together. We've made a couple of appearances together on Obsidian Radio Live. This dude drops rock solid knowledge on the regular, and he knows his shit. Definitely follow this guy, Black Gnostic Speaks. Pan Siderka writes in about episode 21, how I tried to turn a hoe into a housewife. He says, damn, you were simping heavy. Yeah, I was, man, and that's probably the most pathetic I've ever been in my life. Thanks for pointing out how much of a simp I was. I appreciate that. Sydney Edwards comments on episode 14, 4 rules to follow when hooking up with single moms. He says, just don't do it. I disagree, Sydney. It's easy to say don't fuck with single moms, but there are so many out there, and they are such easy targets. It's hard not to, especially when you're first starting out in game. You need to get your feet wet. And single moms, I mean, again, they're some of the easiest targets out there. So if you're just starting out in game, yeah, it's good to get a few of those under your belt to get your confidence up. The trick is to get in and out without allowing them to take their pound of flesh. And knowing how to do this it'll sort of help mitigate any collateral damage she tries to inflict on you. Now, yes, Sydney, you're absolutely right about single moms. They're walking landmines for men. We all know this. But if a man knows how to handle them, he can enjoy the one thing that most of them are good for, which is just sex, without getting burned by any of their other less desirable traits. That does it for this episode of The Sharp Reality. Remember to bookmark that Amazon link in the sidebar of my homepage, thesharpreality.com. Hit me on Twitter anytime at Donovan_Sharp and drop me a line in the contact tab of my website. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time.